Would someone please share with me some of the stories someone shared? You can put a label on it. It's just going to help us to track together. Let me share. One of the ones that I internalized as a kid was I was powerless. So I'm going to write powerless down. Alguien más? Anyone else? Not good enough. Anyone else? Too much.
Could never truly belong.
I don't belong.
Always poor.
Always be poor.
Not allowed to fail.
Can't fail.
Too loud.
Too loud. Ugh.
Not worthy.
Ooh, not worthy. Unworthy. Okay. That's good. Thank you for being so generous with that. On Friday morning, I made a decision to follow up on a request that my wife asked me to do prior. We made a decision that Friday would be better. So there's a lot going on in our city, and she said, I want to make sure that teachers feel loved on Valentine's Day. So she was coming off work on Thursday. I said, just come home. I'll take care of it in the morning. So I go to buy the treats for the teachers. The beautiful thing is, everything's only 40% marked up for Valentine's Day, which is totally fine. So I'm like walking in, I'm following up on her text. It's very specific. I need 6 bags of candy and 10, and then edited 12 freshly baked goods, sets of baked goods for these teachers. And I'm like, no problem. I walk in, no big deal. Only 45, 50, 60% markup. No big deal. No big deal. I walk in, I start to buy this stuff. Find some cookies, grab the cookies. These look great. Grab the candy bags. Oh, wow, you put pink and purple on these. Now they're $30. Great. And I grab 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I grab the baked goods. Okay, each of these things is $6, $5.99. Okay, 6, 12. Ooh, you got. Oh, look at you. Okay. And I keep doing it right, and I follow the instructions. And I'm on my way out, and I'm like, oh, those are the actual fresh ones. No big deal. They're only $12.99 a package. Grr. And I could feel resistance coming up within me. And I put the other ones that aren't fresh back, and I do my job, and I call an audible, because, I'm a teacher. I know that, first come, first serve. I know, there might not be enough for everybody, but I start to feel resistance around money. Because for me growing up, just like some of us, always be poor, I internalized some messages that I had felt, that I experienced, that there's not enough. There's just not enough. There's scarcity mindset. I grew up with that. Because of what I saw, there wasn't enough affirmation. There definitely wasn't enough food. There wasn't a bunch of opportunities. My mom didn't have all the quality time to give me. And so I kind of internalized that there's just not enough. And I could feel that kind of coming up in me in the store. Now, even harder than that message that I internalized from my mom's availability and what she did for me was what I internalized from my dad, which is that I am not enough. My mom said, man, I internalized, oh, there might not be enough out here. But my dad, as a kid, I just interpreted, I'm not good enough. Because if I was good enough, you would have came when you said you were going to. You would have came on my birthday when you said you were going to. You would have at least called me on my birthday because I meant something to you. So I just internalized that message that I am not enough and there is not enough. And that's what we do as children. As children, we make meaning from our maturity. And as a child, it is developmentally appropriate for us to be kind of like egocentric and think that the world is like revolves around us. And so if our parents are frustrated about something, we think, oh, I did something wrong, because we're kind of egocentric. We have an external locus of control. So mom and dad and mom, everybody else has the power, and I'm just kind of here. As kids, we make meaning from that level of maturity. And TJ knows this better than I do. She's our resident therapist and Enneagram specialist, right? But when we internalize those messages, we develop a persona and a personality to kind of navigate those needs. As a child, really early on, oh, I need to be this kind of person. Or oh, I need to do these kinds of things around those people to get these specific needs met. We have all done it. We all carry those things with us. Kids think when they make a mistake, sometimes they can internalize, I am a mistake. Adults never do that, but just kids sometimes, right? Well, enter Peter. When I thought about storytelling, I'm thinking about Peter. Peter comes from Bethsaida. It's a little fishing town, and he grew up. He's the second of his brothers. His older brother left, and so he became in charge of the family business. When I think about fishermen, I think about Tito Boboy, my Tito in the Philippines. He is one of the strongest, funniest guys I know. Up before dawn, they leave to go fishing. A couple hours before the sun comes up, they need to get to still water. He's not afraid of anything. When they play basketball, they play hard. They're gritty. They grind, right? And when they collect the rice from the fields, when they dry it out, then they sift it out. They dry it again and then bag it up. He just represents strength to me. I love seeing that with him. And when I think of who Peter is, I can't help think about my Tito Boboy. So Peter, as he's coming up, some guy ends up on the shore. He's out on the water, and they haven't got fish. And the guy comes out and gets in the boat and says, why don't you put your net on the other side of the boat? Peter's like, yo, with all due respect, Rabbi, all-knowing Mr. Rabbi guy, I know these waters better than you know, but I'll respect you and put the nets on the other side. He drops the nets into the other side. They don't have some big yacht thing, little boat for a couple guys, fish for the day. I don't know how big his fish business was. They put the fish into the other side, or the net into the other side, and him and his co-workers pull the nets up. Nets are starting to break. There's so much fish inside. And I feel like Peter can see a sense, he gets a little taste of like, wait a second, there's more than enough. Whoa, whoa, whoa. There can be more. There can be more than this. He gets a taste of something he's always wanted, so much so that he's willing to leave the family business and other things to go follow this way. Peter's one of the older disciples. And when I think about Peter, I think about him being late to the party. Again, no one here knows what it's like to be late to a party. You feel like you were doing what you're supposed to be doing. No one here stayed in a box longer or a closet longer than they would have liked to, right? So Peter's late to the party. So I envision Peter kind of just like what we've seen in Scripture, the way I interpret it, he's trying so hard. I'll do it. But part of that is not just him performing. Part of it is who he is, where he comes from. He's gritty. He doesn't back down. Never back down, never. Okay. So this is who Peter is. Now, as Peter goes on along his journey, he ends up, there's several times, right? He's the one that pulls the sword and swing exactly for that Roman soldier's ear with the precision. No. He's trying to cut your head off. So Peter's like that. But then Peter has a moment. And he's followed Jesus, and Jesus looks in his face and says, before today's over, you're going to betray me. Nah, not me. I don't do that. You don't know where I come from, Jesus. I wouldn't do that. I've seen too much. I wouldn't do that to you. Later on that day, Jesus is taken away. And Peter, again, he's seen and he's tasted that there can be more, follows to see what's going to happen. Hey, weren't you with him? No, I don't know him. I don't know him. And he keeps walking because he wants to see what's going to happen to his Lord, his brother, his friend. Hey, you're like him. You sound like him. You sound like those people that be with him. No, not me. I'm not about that. And then the third time it happens, he betrays him again. The rooster crows like Jesus said they would. And now Peter has this moment, like many of us have had, where he did the thing he said he wouldn't do. And I know for me, and many times in my life, when I did the thing I said I wouldn't do, it meant I became the person I said I would never become. We know what that feels like, to interpret that information, that act that we did, as an outflow of who we are. Peter leaves this moment, right? Not only did I betray him, I betrayed myself. The vow that I made to myself of who I would be, who I would become. Betrayed himself. We know what that feels like, to not just betray the people we love, but to betray ourselves. And things are so complicated. I was trying to be true to me, and I was trying to be true to you. And yet I still betrayed you. And I betrayed me. And it changes how we perceive ourselves. So later, when Jesus passes away, Peter's one of the first people trying to see, is he coming back? The women get there before him, and Peter's the one that gives them credit. Peter is the one that validates the woman's perspective of what happened, because in that day, if women said he had risen, people would be like, oh, for sure, I guess. So Peter mansplained, and then it got in the Bible. So, but Peter, Jesus comes back, and there's this moment where Peter ends up having another divine encounter with Jesus. And Jesus is back with the disciples, teaching them things. Brielle, would you come up here for a moment? Brielle is my second baby. I said Brielle is my second baby. Thank you. One of our beautiful babies. All right, baby, I need you to. Now, Jesus, for me, when I imagine Jesus, first of all, when he told Peter, you have little faith in the boat, it's never pejorative. God's voice isn't, God knows everything inside of us. He knows the reasons we fail. He knows our intentions never to fail. God knows. And so in this moment, when Jesus is speaking to Peter, Peter is defeated. He feels like, how could I look you in your eyes? I betrayed you. And I want you just to know, to envision, Jesus is inviting him. Jesus is speaking to the ways that Peter has internalized some of his behavior. He's reminding him something. You get to be Peter. So now Jesus says, Peter is, again, feeling betrayed. You know that feeling when you don't want to look someone in the face because you know you were wrong. You still love them, and you want intimacy with them. You know you made a mistake. They know you made a mistake, and we're not sure how to get back to the conversation. This is what Peter is feeling. Jesus is feeling abundant, overwhelming, stop at nothing, give you everything I have and more kind of love for Peter. But Peter can't feel that, because Peter just feels, I betrayed you, and I betrayed myself, and I'm a betrayer. The difference between making a mistake and identifying shame. I am wrong. I did something wrong. I am wrong. And so Peter can barely look Jesus in the eye. I was going to make a joke about straight guys, but we won't do that. All right. Shout out to the straight. Never mind. All right. So Peter's here, and he's having a hard time, right? Reckoning with what I did. And Jesus says, Peter, do you love me? And Peter says, you know I love you. I just want you to see God's intimate love and longing to deal with and speak to some of those deep stories, the way we've misinterpreted and misinternalized some of the things that have happened. And I imagine Jesus saying, no, Peter, do you love me? And Peter says, you know I love you. And Jesus says, feed my sheep. And then Jesus says, Peter, care for my sheep. Can you imagine, Peter, you still believe in me? You think I can still do this? I was late to the party. I didn't know how to be true. I didn't know how to be honest. You still believe in me? And he says, Peter, do you love me? A third time. Peter says, Lord, you know I love you. And then he says, then care for my lambs. Care for my lambs. And the scripture to me, it doesn't say that he kissed him. It doesn't say that, but I just imagine Jesus being right here. I love you. I know you love me. I know you love me. Care for my babies. Care for those who want to be like me. I imagine Jesus giving him a kiss too. Go ahead, baby. Thank you. That was a long time to stand all still. All right. After this moment, Peter goes on to be, again, he's still himself. He's still that guy from Bethsaida who's not afraid, gritty, grindy, strong, right? But he has this moment in 2 Peter where he writes to us something about what we need to know today, I think, in response to all the ways that things are politically charged, all the ways that we've seen friends, all the ways we've lost our own homes, all the ways that we've lost our ability to be at home. And Peter writes this. You can read it on the screen. He wants us to know this. Peter says, God's divine power has granted to us all things that pertain to life and godliness through the knowledge of God who's called us to God's own glory and excellence, by which God has granted to us God's precious and very great promises. For me, I see a difference from the immaturity of everything's revolved around me and my behavior, and if I don't do it, it's not going to happen, to, well, wait a second. Everything I need is within me. I used to hear this and I didn't understand. It came from people who would just quote scripture. All things pertaining to life and godliness are already within you. I don't know. But when Peter says it, when I hear it today, Peter's reminding us all, everything you need is within you. There are ways that our body tells the truth about how we're experiencing things. Our stomach lining, the gut responses we have to things, all of those are still a matter of how we perceive what's happening. They're still a matter of what we see and how we see it. And I think God invites us, and Peter invites us, and Jesus invites us to what is even more true than the forensic evidence of what is right now. One of the questions that I ask myself when I'm feeling frustrated, when I feel like I don't understand, when I'm overwhelmed, or when I'm judging myself, one question I say is that absolutely true? Is it absolutely true? Now, it can be absolutely true. It can be forensically true, physically true. But is it absolutely true? Is it the final truth about this situation? Yes, you're frustrated right now with your partner. Yes, finances. Yes, career. Yes, it's not where you want it to be right now. But is this absolutely true? Is this the final truth? One of the things that I say to one of my friends, too, we talk about a truer truth. What's even truer than that? I don't know if truer is a word, but I love it. Right? What's truer? What's even truer than that? What's even truer than than what we feel right now? And this isn't the message where we tell you to forget about what your body is telling you, because that is true. It's reading the room and it's telling you what it's giving you information. But we, as mature individuals, we get to make meaning. We determine we have an internal locus of control. Everything we need, God's divine power is within us. Every single one of us. The beautiful expressions of who we are. So Jesus invites us today to make meaning into the fullness of our lives, that we're not bound by the stories of our past, but we get to write new stories. We have that kind of power. This is the invitation of Jesus today. So we're going to turn to our neighbors, and we're going to talk about this question. How can you practice divine truth in the story you mentioned before?